unmute you that way. Calling the meeting to order officially. This is the 2021 annual nominating meeting of the People's Caucus. It's been a heck of a year, and having this meeting, excuse me, over Zoom is just consistent with what it's been all year long. I know the village board and many others have been running meetings on Zoom. Everybody will be patient with me. I haven't run a meeting with over 5 people on Zoom yet, so I'm sure I'm going to screw things up regularly, but that's nothing new for me. So this year, at least, I have an excuse. I don't really have any other comments except one that I think is an important one. As everyone knows, the People's Caucus is a nonpartisan, independent nominating body. I wish we had that kind of process in our state and federal elections, but we don't and we never will. So I'm thankful we have it here, and I hope we will be able to continue having it here for another 100+ years. At this stage, I'd like to ask for a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the January 8th, 2000 nominating meeting and the January 15th Meet the Candidates meeting. If you would like to. Margaret, thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Rachel, thank you. Okay, before we start with the nominations, I'm going to ask our treasurer, Zachary Giampa, if he would present the treasurer's report.
Sure. Is there a way that we could put that up on the screen? Otherwise, I can share my screen.
Lauren, can you put that up? There we go.
Okay. So just basically, in a nutshell, we have little funds that we have carried over from the year before. So far, we have donations of $800 this year, which is less than we have in past years. We expect to, if you could go to the second page, we expect costs in and around $2,500 to operate the People's Caucus. That includes these virtual meetings, the postings of these meetings, PO box, rental stamps, and posting in local newspapers, which leaves us with about $1,700 that we would need to obtain in additional donations. So I implore anyone that can, please donate $50, $100 to the People's Caucus so we can keep this going. Because if we cannot sustain our minimal budget, we may be forced to end this. And it has been dwindling over the past 3 years. So if you can, reach out to any member of the People's Caucus, or we have a PO box that you can send your donations to. If there are any other people that have questions about the operating budget or this treasurer's report, I'm free to speak to anybody after the meeting. You can also email me and I can respond. Copies of this will be posted on our website.
Lauren, you can take it down now. Thank you. I will add to that, we have substantially cut our budget for the current year. Last year's budget was $4,500. We eliminated our mailing, the annual December mailing, where we report on the prior year's activities. And that saved us about $1,200. We sent that letter out by email. So we now have an email list of nearly 2,000 names. And we will continue to use that to, no, we do not have a Venmo, by the way, Susan. So we will continue to send out a mailing soliciting donations, and that will be sent by regular mail. We have promised the village that we will not use the email addresses we obtained under a FOIL request to solicit donations. So that's it for the treasurer's report, and I think we're at the stage where we'll move on and open the nominations according to our constitution. The nominations are in the order of mayor first. So do we have any nominations for the position of mayor?
I would like to nominate Stephen Vesio.
Can you raise your volume, Jessica?
Sure. Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, great.
And you said you were nominating?
Mayor Vesio.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second for that nomination? Rachel, thank you. Oh, Paul, you were too slow, Paul.
I didn't unmute quick enough. I'll let Rachel do the honors. I second and let Rachel second.
I'll give you the second. She didn't unmute. All right, thank you for that. Do we have any other nominations for mayor? Seeing none, we will close the nominations for mayor, and I will ask the nominator to give us a speech as to why she chose to nominate the sitting mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you to the members of the People's Caucus for this opportunity to speak. My name is Jessica Vecchiarelli. I reside at 97 Locust Road in Briarcliff Manor. It is my great honor to nominate Stephen Vesio for another term as mayor of Briarcliff Manor. Steve, along with the village trustees, has done a tremendous job making improvements to our community. Steve has brought transparency and access to our community in his role as mayor, and he has delivered on his campaign promises. Steve was inspired to take office because of the lack of transparency and communication given to our community from the previous administration. Major decisions were being made without the opportunity for the public to weigh in or even become aware. These decisions weren't for the betterment of the greater Briarcliff community and had the potential to change the look and feel of our village. Under Steve's leadership, a moratorium was enacted so the village had an opportunity to evaluate changes to the B zone that had previously been done. This moratorium allowed for the greater Briarcliff community to understand the laws that had been changed and how it would impact our village and everyday living. Videos were created to explain this complex topic easily to our residents, and regular updates were shared in the village manager's weekly reports. Our community was given ample opportunities to speak publicly, and our opinions were considered and represented in the action taken. Now, instead of these properties being turned into high-density housing, which there is generally less interest in since the pandemic hit, there are rules put into place to protect what can come of these spaces. This will cut down on traffic in our communities and alleviate the burden being put on our schools. A majority of these properties reside within the Ossining School District, which is at capacity and underfunded. Development of these properties could not only break our schools, but greatly challenge our existing infrastructures. This is a tremendous relief to myself and the 35% of Briarcliff residents like me that are going for the Ossining schools. Mayor Vesio also led the charge on safety repairs to 9A, which was supported by our representatives in the state and assembly. His leadership helped our village navigate an unexpected global pandemic. Steve found ways to quickly and creatively support our small businesses, many of which are owned and run by our neighbors as well, and also delivered creative quality opportunities for residents of all ages while we were limited during the shutdown. One small example was the ability to have the town pool open this summer, which greatly improved the emotional well-being of all that visited and provided safe fun. It was a reminder to me of the true benefits we have here as residents of Briarcliff Manor. These are just a few examples of the great accomplishments that Steve has made. Please join me in supporting a second term for Mayor Vesio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Vecchiarelli.
My
We
pleasure.
appreciate that. We're going to deviate from the way I've mismanaged our meetings in the past, and now we're going to ask Mayor Vesio to please explain to the members of the caucus who are present at this meeting the reason he is going to seek another term for the village.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Jess, for that wonderful introduction. I'd also like to thank members of the Caucus Executive Committee for continuing this non-partisan process for our village. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Essio, and I'm honored to accept the nomination for mayor of Briarcliff Manor. I'm a lifelong village resident in the Ossining School District and currently live not far from where I grew up with my wife, Jessica, and 2 children, Ariana and Bianca. I'm a Lehigh University grad with a degree in finance and additional studies in civil engineering. Professionally, I'm the CFO of Laws Construction, overseeing all aspects of field operations, corporate financing, insurance, safety, and project management for complex municipal projects. In addition, I've been a licensed real estate broker for the past 17 years. I've been volunteering in Briarcliff since 2004, when I joined the Briarcliff Manor Fire Department and quickly became an active member, attaining the rank of captain of the Scarborough Engine Company. I was a member of the planning board for 4 years and chaired the B-Zone Advisory Committee. For the past 2 years, it has been my honor to serve as your mayor. Prior to taking office, I had some expectations of what the job of mayor would entail, but of course, 2020 had some surprises in store for us all. Through the challenges, I'm extremely proud of the accomplishments the Board of Trustees and village staff were able to complete. We managed through a worldwide pandemic, adapting to keep our staff safe and ensure all village services remained running seamlessly. We also got creative to provide a variety of safe recreational activities for our residents. Collaborating with the other trustees, I've worked diligently to improve our great community by addressing revisions to more than 40 sections of code, reinstating the beautification committee, creatively dealing with several village contracts, hiring a new village treasurer and outside audit firm, progressing many infrastructure, equipment, and capital projects, bringing transparency back in government, listening to our constituents, and doing our best to address their concerns. From small to large projects, I've looked for ways to save the taxpayer money, including using DPW forces to self-perform capital projects, such as upgrades to our wonderful trail system, rot repairs at the library, the drainage installation at the club field, and the stabilization of Scarborough Park. This resulted in the savings of substantial monies while expediting the completion of the work and increasing quality of the finished product. The downtown also received a facelift with new parking signs, a refreshed pocket park, pruned trees, new flower baskets, and light posts that are now painted black and have LED heads with the same color temperature, also done in-house by DPW. More than 20 trees were planted at Law Park, replacing some of what has been destroyed over the years from storms. And a piece of our history was recently installed at the park. A stone lantern, once owned by Walter Law, our village founder, is now relocated from a local backyard to the center of our village for all to see. Working with our building department, we revised our standard construction contract used for municipal projects, which will benefit our village for years to come. Long outdated DPW, fire, EMS, and police equipment were replaced, taking advantage of historically low financing rates. In addition, our village also refunded some existing debt, saving more than $500,000. All of this was accomplished while not only maintaining our great financial rating, but receiving an upgrade to AAA from Moody's. Over the past term, I've pressed forward on several long-term projects, including bringing significant attention to the deteriorated conditions of Route 9A, addressing the zoning on our B-zone properties, designing a rehabilitation of Tuttle Road, finalizing plans for our Village Hall access project, and worked with our residents to develop a plan for the first major upgrade in 50 years to our downtown streetscape. Several other projects not in our direct control were also able to come to fruition at no cost to the taxpayers, including New York State DOT finally painting the railings over 9A at Pleasantville Road. Transparency has been brought back to our local government. All documents the Board of Trustees review are attached to the agenda and available on the website for residents to see. Plain language is used on planning and zoning agendas, and properties with pending applications now post a sign on their property. Information is also posted online. In addition, our newly passed zoning laws require additional notifications to residents prior to any developer presenting a zoning map or zoning text amendment to the BOT. If elected to another term as your mayor, I pledge to continue to work on your behalf, listen to your concerns, look for ways to be more efficient, and will continue to hold outside agencies accountable. I will advance the major capital projects that will break ground later this year and utilize my construction background to ensure they are completed timely, workmanlike, and in an efficient manner. I'll push New York State to fund the corridor study for Route 9A and work towards our long-term goal of becoming a town village. I'll continue to work hard to ensure our village thrives, moves forward in a positive manner, keep local matters at the front of our agenda, and continue the team approach I've brought to the position. And I promise to be transparent in all that we do. I'm proud of what has been accomplished and pledge to work just as hard over the next 2 years if I have the privilege of once again being elected your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Vesio, for that wonderful presentation. And now I can correct my first error of the evening. I forgot to close the nominations for mayor, so I'll give one more shot. After hearing all of that, is there anybody who would like to nominate someone else for mayor? Is that your hand going up, Phil? No, Phil's not a resident anyway. The nominations for mayor are now closed. Next on the agenda is the nominations for village trustee. We have 2 openings this year. Do we have any nominations?
Yes,
Brian?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Peter Chatsky to the Board of Trustees for a second term.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I'm not seeing the whole screen, so I may be missing the second. Is that,
Second.
yep, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other nominations for trustee?
yes, I'd like to nominate Ned Midgley.
Thank you, Mr. Glasscott. Would you please announce your address?
Yes, I'm sorry. Is it my turn to go?
Since you're nominating
Yes.
somebody, yes.
Okay, that's right. That was a second. I'm sorry. My name is John Glasscott. I live at 174 River Road in Briarcliff, and I've lived here for 34 years. It's my honor to nominate.
I'll stop you right there. You'll get to speak in a few
Oh,
moments.
I'm sorry.
The second,
A second?
Margaret, thank you. And are there any further nominations for village trustee? Seeing none, I declare the nominations for village trustee closed. We will ask the nominators to present their reasons for the nominations they've made. First in order will be Brian Zerman.
Brian Zerman, I also live at 174 Pine Road. Peter's been my friend and neighbor for 20 years. He served as the mayor and deputy mayor. He is the father to 4, and he is a successful business owner and a person that's always there to help other residents. Serving as trustee myself for 2 terms, I know how much work is involved. The job involves understanding finance, village law, management, setting priorities, communications, working as a team with other board members and the village staff, and juggling whatever issues come up every week. And many issues do come up every week. His experience with all of this makes him an asset to our village. I have a lot of other positive things to say about Peter, but I can't read his handwriting. I'm sorry. I am truly confident that the village is in good hands with Peter on the board. When Peter asked me to nominate him to run for a second term, I was excited to nominate him. But I really think that he asked me because he just wanted to rub it in that he beat me in the last election. Serving on the board, I have learned that there are 2 kinds of people in politics: the person that puts themselves first and the person that puts the village of Briarcliff Manor first. Peter always puts the village first. I am excited to endorse Peter and nominate him for a second term. And thank you very much to the People's Caucus Board for doing all this hard work.
I will make my annual effort at humor. That's an interesting mask you're wearing, Brian. You're much better looking with it on.
Well, I'm sitting next to Peter. I'm a little worried.
Okay. Mr. Glasscott, would you please explain your reason for nominating Mr. Midgley?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry for my lack of parliamentary knowledge earlier. I've lived, as I said, lived in Briarcliff for 34 years. It's my honor to nominate Ned Midgley for his second term. I've known Ned and his family as friends and neighbors for the last 20 years. I know the primary reason Ned is running for reelection is to complete the projects he has begun with Trustee Chadsky and Mayor Vesio when they were first elected in 2019. As a Ned's, and I got involved in this when they were going to put the storage unit up on Route 9, up beyond where we all live. And Ned sort of coalesced our neighborhood together and helped really drive that. And what I think is very important, it seems to me the largest issue facing the village is what to do with these B zone. And Ned's background in commercial real estate is ideal, in my opinion, to really help know the nuances of ways that we could use that land productively and maximize revenue for the village without having multi-use housing. And then not to mention that Ned went to that little known business school called Harvard that I think he's eminently qualified. He also represents village constituents like me who live in the Ossining School District, and both his kids and my kids were educated at the Ossining schools. One of the things, and I've talked to Ned about this, that he wants to do in his list of achievements with the board and the mayor that he'd like to continue working on. And I believe in continuity, and he's, is enacting the moratorium on the B zone properties, creation of the new CT zones, which allows for additional commercial uses of the old B zone properties. My personal favorite, the Scarborough Park, has been restored. It's stunning. It is. I don't know if you haven't been down there, I urge you to go look at it. It's totally rehabilitated, and that was completed with volunteers in our own Department of Public Works with no outside contractors. Ned is very interested, as Mayor Vesio is, in fixing the mess that is Route 9 and trying to get state help to do that. One of my personal favorites is the village trail cleanup and the hiking projects that everyone did pre-COVID, which was very handy and useful to have this year. And all the other things that Mayor Vesio talked about, and I know Ned just wants to help complete the job and serve us all well and diligently in his second term. So thank you for listening, and I hope you'll support his nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Glasgow. I appreciate that. And now it's time to hear from the nominee as to their reasons to explain to the members at this meeting why they are seeking a second term. And that will start with our deputy mayor.
Thank you, Aaron. First, I'd like to thank Brian for the nomination. I do appreciate all the support, the years of friendship, and seriously, you are one of my top 4 favorite neighbors. I also want to thank the Caucus Executive Committee, my friend Aaron, for hosting tonight's special Zoom episode of these nominations, as well as the caucus election 2 weeks from tonight. I am Peter Chadsky, currently serving on the Board of Trustees as Deputy Mayor. I came back to local government after serving as mayor more than 15 years ago, in part to have the opportunity to team up with Steve Vesio and Ned Midgley, but also to help shepherd in a new generation of leadership into Briarcliff. It has been a successful and rewarding experience. I have an MBA in finance from Columbia University and more than 35 years, which is amazing to me, experience as the CEO and founder of a software company. That background has given me skills to manage organizations, assess budgets, set priorities, and build a vision for long-term success. I help champion and support teams of people with individual talents working toward a common goal. As an undergrad at Tufts, I studied psychology and creative writing. My parents would be proud to see I've actually put that writing degree to good use. One of my primary goals on the board had been to bolster communication throughout the village, and I have done so by providing frequent written updates on village matters through Facebook and at times through the Friday newsletter, always in a friendly, open manner. I am the trustee principally responsible for all email correspondence between the board and our residents. And I've also used my writing skills to help codify more than 40 local laws the board has implemented over the last 2 years. In my spare time, as many know, I do even more of that. Plus, I support local businesses, especially restaurants and bakeries. I am excellent at that. The current board functions extremely well together. As a resident, I'm thrilled that the 5 of us and village staff have been so adept at quickly responding and handling the roughly gazillion unplanned issues that pop up each week. And by the way, residents are fortunate to have Phil Zegarelli, whom we call Fred, and such great village staff serving the village. But I'm most proud over my last 2 years on the board of the transformational policies we have pursued that will have long-term impact on the success of this village. Land use laws, including the new legislation, innovative tax treatment to encourage commercial use, wetlands protections, improvements to parks and trails, regulations of utility work and road restoration, recruiting, hiring, maintaining key village staff positions. These are just some of the many long-range investments that will impact and improve the village for decades to come. Trustees should be guided by the principle that we each must leave the village in a better shape than when we found it. I look forward to continuing that effort with my fellow board members and doing just that. I thank you all for your continued support.
Thank you, Mr. Chatsky, and I'd just like to add for everybody's benefit here, I recently had a phone conversation with Peter and asked him if we had a new village council who's been drafting the amendments to our laws. And he informed me that he was the one who actually did it. And I said, I was surprised. I didn't know he had studied law. And he advised me he had not. So if you have any problems with the laws, you'll know who to complain to. Anyway, thank
Excellent.
you very much, Peter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we're ready for the second trustee, Mr. Midgley.
Thanks. And I'd like to thank the People's Caucus for hosting this. Again, this is a very different forum than pretty much any other community has. And I think it's one of the that sets our village in a different stead than other villages, primarily because there isn't the partisan animosity, seems to dominate our nation in the village, and we're all committed to one thing: making the village better. And I think that commitment to the village is shared by all of my fellow trustees, not just Peter and Steve, but Kevin and Sabina as well. I think we're all committed to making a better Briarcliff. And I think you heard it from John. I think we have a really special team right now. We work together very well. There's not a lot of rancor at all amongst us. In fact, I would say it's probably just the opposite. I think we function very well as a team and a unit, but we still are able to look at issues from all different angles. Just by way of personal background, John said some of this and everyone else has said it. I'm a 20 plus year resident of Briarcliff Manor. Both of my children attended the Ossining schools, beginning in kindergarten. And I've spent the last 25 years in commercial real estate. And I agree with the sentiment that was said before. A lot of the major issues facing Briarcliff right now are going to be with land use and all its forms and potential development coming into our communities. We have several, we've addressed the B zone issues with the new CT zone, and Peter talked about, a really interesting way to encourage businesses to come in by, using some, flexibility we have with the tax laws to give them incentives to come in. But we also have lots of open space in this village, and it's one of the things all of us really like about it. And in some cases, some of those larger properties, we have older people living in it and also some institutions that are, their financial viability is questionable. So, it's important to think about that and start planning for those in the future. And I think my background in commercial real estate, puts me in a really good position to help, think around the next corner as to what the village may be facing. And, you've heard Steve go through a long list of our achievements. Peter went through some of them. Everything from, and John Glasgow brought it up, we talked about 9A. We've talked about 9A, but Route 9 has its own issues that we can address. So maybe we can start talking about, the nines as opposed to, just one. And that's something we can talk about, during the second term. But, everything from the village trails. We did the village trails before the pandemic. I mean, that was, that maybe we were lucky rather than good, but it got done. And it set us up for a wonderful, to have a wonderful resource available during the pandemic, which we all know has been, widely used. And really what I'm hoping to do is continue the continuity of the board of trustees. And I like working with this group, and I think we will do good things for the next 2 years, like I think we have done for the last 2 years. So I thank you for your support, and hopefully you'll all be there on election day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Midgley. Now that brings to a close the presentations from our trustee nominees. We will now open the nominations for village justice. Do I have a nomination? Susan Code. Unmute, please. Lauren?
I think
Okay.
she's unmuted now, right?
Yes.
Name and address.
Susan Code of 18 Hungerford Road in Briarcliff Manor. I want
Thank
to
you.
thank you. I
Do
want to
we
thank
have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Mr. Chatsky.
somebody had to.
Okay. I didn't see your hand, Peter. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
And he dressed up in everything.
It was Peter.
Parliamentary order, the deputy mayor, that's not a problem.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any other nominations for village justice? I'll try one more shot at a joke. There is no such thing as justice. We ought to call him judge. Didn't go over very well. Anyway, Howard, the nominations for village justice are now closed. So if you would like to address the audience and explain to them why you're seeking, is this your third term or your second?
May I say
Oh,
why I'm nominating him?
well, I knew I'd make another error. There we go. Thank you, Susan.
I'm sitting next to him. I have to do this.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. I am pleased and proud to nominate our current village justice, active community volunteer, and my husband, Howard T. Code, for Briarcliff Manor Village Justice. Howard is the right person for the job. He is experienced, smart, kind, has a sharp legal mind as an attorney for 40 years, and has more integrity than anyone I've ever met. Throughout this last year, with COVID restrictions changing the way the court is run, he adapted, working closely with others in the court system and those they serve, and those that come before him, to continue his role as Briarcliff Village Justice fairly. He has earned the community's trust and will continue to serve honorably for another 4-year term if reelected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Code. At this stage, Howard, would you like to explain why you're seeking another term? And is it your second or third term?
This will be my third term.
Aaron, you need a second.
You already had the second, Larissa. Peter Chatsky.
Both Peters.
I think it was Peter Flehan.
And Peter Flehan, correct.
And this will be my, if reelected, this will be my third term as elected.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for nominating me for a third term as your village justice. I thank my friend and fellow ex-captain from the fire department, Peter Flehan, with whom I worked as recently as yesterday morning at a chimney fire on Pleasantville Road for seconding my nomination. Thank you, Peter. I would also like to thank my partner in life, Susan Code, who has put up with me these last 4 decades for putting my name in nomination. She clearly likes me out of the house. Anyway, the opportunity to serve as your village justice has been something that I treasure. If reelected, I will continue to do my best, even under our present trying COVID-induced circumstances, to preside over your court. And it is your court, keeping in mind that a litigant's experience in court can be stressful, and that each person appearing in front of the court should be treated with respect. I try to do that, at the same time ensuring that our laws are enforced fairly. I'm assisted in this by my crack court staff. We have court clerk Rory Zerman and an assistant clerk, Chris Frost, who I don't know if they assist me or hold me up. All right, so I do appreciate all the work that the entire court staff does to keep the court running, especially in the last 10 months, which have been trying, to say the least. We work under the directives from Albany and the 9th Judicial District, and they have been we've all been trying to respond to the current circumstances as best we can, and we're always getting new directives saying change this, go virtual completely, do this partially virtual, but we're doing, I think, a darn good job keeping up with everything. I congratulate my fellow nominees and thank them for their continued selfless service to the community. Briarcliff, which has been our home now for 32 years, is a great example of how our community can succeed when we all work together as one towards our common goals, putting aside our disagreements and different views of the world, perhaps, and realizing that what unites us is more valuable and important than what may temporarily divide us. So I thank you very much for the nomination again. This will be, if elected, this will be my 3rd term, as I said, as village justice. Previous thereto, I served 9 years as what was called at the time the acting village justice. But I really appreciate the opportunity. I think it's a good fit, and I look forward to being reelected should the people feel that is appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Code. It's always good to see you when it's not in front of you in the court. So I hope that continues.
Me too.
At this stage of the meeting, we will open the nominations for membership on the Caucus Executive Committee. Do we have any nominations?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Leary?
My name is John O'Leary, and it is my distinct honor to nominate the following candidates for the People's Caucus Executive Committee. All these candidates are running for additional terms. The first candidate is Aaron B. Stern, who's been our chairperson for, I would say, almost the last 10 years, Aaron?
9, next one will be my 10th.
Okay, that was pretty close. And all of the incumbents have done a terrific job for Briarcliff Manor, and we're all very appreciative. But Aaron, you've been special. Thank you. For vice chair, and also somebody who's done a terrific job, Larissa Wayne Palmino. For treasurer, Zachary Giampa. For secretary, Brian Crowley. And we also have Clarissa Giosa, who's a member at large appointed by the board. And that's the candidates that I have, and I would strongly recommend that we all support their nomination for an additional term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Leary, and I seem to have forgotten to ask for a second. Do we have a second? Thank you, Rachel. Okay, are there any other nominations for positions on the Caucus Executive Committee? Just let me check the next screen, seeing none. Yeah, I didn't think anybody was going to step up for that, so the nominations for the Caucus Executive Committee are now closed. We don't really have anything to say. We've served you happily. And we will continue to serve you for another term. Each of these terms is for 1 year. As chair, I am restricted by our constitution to serving a maximum of 5 consecutive terms. I've served 4 in this go-round, and the next one will be the 5th and final. So we're hoping to bring new blood into the system. Brian Crowley joined us last year as our secretary in replacement of Aaron Spring, who moved on to the Ossining School Board, where he was elected and continues to serve. Now we're going to ask the current secretary, Brian, to read a brief resolution to amend the caucus constitution and bylaws.
Sure. Resolution to amend the Constitution. Resolved that the section of the caucus's Constitution Executive Committee shall be amended to read and up to 2 additional members. And the resolution to amend the bylaws. Resolved that the section of the caucus's bylaws chair shall be amended to read and shall appoint the additional members.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Let me introduce it, actually. We are attempting to expand the membership on the executive committee to help groom some additional potential members to eventually move up, take over as chair, take over as vice chair, when the 2 of us in those positions finally complete our ability to serve. So we're opening an additional position, another member at large, which is appointed by the chair. So thank you for that, and really don't have anything else to add. Is there any other business that anybody would like to bring before the committee? Mr. Zegarelli.
Just as a parliamentary need here, you've nominated everybody, but you do or should have at least a voice vote for all those nominated, including the People's Caucus Committee at large.
Actually, it's the custom of the caucus to wait for the candidates meeting when they make presentations. And following their presentations, we introduce a resolution for the secretary to cast 1 vote. So that's a deviation from normal parliamentary procedure.
Different political school, sorry.
Different political school, correct. So, after 10 years as chair, that part I think I understand. Okay. Is there any other business to come before the caucus? Lauren, do you see any hands? I don't.
I'm not seeing anybody's hands up.
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your evening.
Thank
We will adjourn the meeting, and we'll hope to see you at the next one, next Wednesday, same time, same method.
Thank you all for all you do.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
Everybody have a
you.
great night and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
you. Good night.
Lauren, thanks
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much for assisting as co-host.
Of
Be
course,
safe,
anytime.
everyone. Good night.
Have a great
Bye.
night.